All right, what's up, everybody? We are back here again, week number 10 of Pete's Power Rankings. Yes, I'm going through, I'm watching 99% of all of these games. I'm taking notes, keeping tabs, ranking all 32 teams from 1 through 32. We just crossed the halfway point of the season. It's going by way too fast. The tank for Caleb Williams is on for a lot of teams, and some other teams are starting to cement themselves atop of the NFL. Feels like there's a lot of pretenders out there, not so many contenders, but there's all to play for as we head into November. Let's remember, these are the power rankings, not the standings, but let's just hop right into it. Let's get with our bottom tier teams 32 through 23. Okay, no change at the bottom here. Carolina, Arizona, keep being awful. Arizona, maybe the worst offensive performance I've ever seen in my life. I mean, just wow. Josh Dobbs, though. Probably could have used him. They're now in the full tank mode, but Kyler Murray's coming back. Giants, they're done. Daniel Jones tears his ACL. The Bears are getting Justin Fields back this week, and they play the Panthers on Thursday. Everyone should tune into that one. Patriots, man, just not good. They have a shot to get this number one pick. Vegas, a much-needed win for the Raiders, smacking around the Giants. They feel good. They get McDaniels out of there, and it feels like good vibes in Vegas. Washington, a good win against New England, I guess. The wins are fine. Washington just always super average. Green Bay coming off the mat, getting a win against a Staffordless Rams team. Running the ball looked a lot better, but Jordan Love still a lot to be desired. Colts, good win at Carolina. 2 pick sixes for Moore with his family in the stands. Good for him. And Atlanta, Arthur Smith has to be the most frustrating head coach for anybody to deal with as far as a fantasy perspective goes. Just inexcusable loss from the Falcons this weekend. But let's keep on going. Our middle tier teams 22 through 16. Okay, Denver was on a bye this week. They're feisty, though. Kind of like the direction the Broncos are heading. Rams dropping them 4 spots. Just no Stafford. If he ever comes back, maybe. Just this isn't a talented football team. Titans, Will Levis showing some things here. Maybe he's going to be your quarterback in Tennessee. Tampa Bay, tough loss to the man CJ Stroud, but you got to be better, Tampa Bay. New Orleans showing some life the last few weeks. I know they haven't played the best teams, but they've shown some offenses, which they've been really, really lacking through the start of the first season. Big test this weekend on the road, trying to hold on to first place in the division. Houston up to 17. CJ Stroud, franchise quarterback. We've been on him all season. Big time win, sets the rookie passing record, throws for 5 touchdowns. Awesome from him. The Jets are probably too high here at 16. Man, their defense is so good, and Zach Wilson is just, sometimes he's awful. Nathaniel Hackett's a terrible play caller. Maybe Rodgers can't get here soon enough. There's no brace. He's throwing the football. Maybe he's back and can salvage this team season. At least everybody in the NFC or the AFC East lost this weekend, so they didn't lose any ground there. It's just, man, I bet they wish they traded for a quarterback at the deadline, regretting sticking with Zach Wilson. I can imagine. Robert Sala's going to cost him his job, but that's what happens. Imagine Trevor Lawrence on this team. They win a meaningless game, and it puts them here without a quarterback instead of having a guy who's taken his team to new heights. But let's get to what everyone got here for, our top 15 teams in the NFL. Number 15, a team that really isn't good on offense, but is really, really good on defense. Okay, number 15, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, Pittsburgh feels like a money bet this year. Bet against them in the first half and bet on them in the second half. This is the Iowa Hawkeyes of the NFL. This offense is just so bad, man. Just really struggles. Kenny Pickett kind of lost any sort of edge he had coming into the season, looking like he could be that franchise guy. It's a real struggle for them. They don't run the ball particularly well. George Pickens is starting to voice his concerns. He gets upset. But guess what? Come fourth quarter, Pittsburgh's going to score. Pittsburgh's going to win the game. Maybe Matt Canada just knows, like, I only got so many offensive plays that I can work with. We're going to drag it along into the fourth quarter and win these games. Luckily for Pittsburgh, their front seven is ferocious. I mean, they are nasty up front, led by TJ Watt. They get after quarterbacks. They make life hell. Problem is, their secondary is pretty bad in Pittsburgh. Like, they don't really cover a lot of people. This is a team with a bunch of holes, but they seem to find ways to win football games. Tomlin makes it ugly. Tomlin just knows how to get his team to rise to the occasion. They muddy the game up. They then win the game in the fourth quarter with the offense. This is a weird team that I don't feel any sort of heat from, but they just beat you every single week, it feels like. Problem is, that division is so tough, the AFC North. They are just stacked to the brim with good football teams, and I kind of feel like they're the bottom of those teams. But let's get to number 14, my least favorite coach in the NFL. Okay, at number 14, I got the Chargers up a spot this week. This is 2 weeks in a row where the Chargers have won a football game in prime time. And it's just like, okay, who have you beat? Like, the Jets offense was so abysmal tonight, and the Chargers didn't really do too much on offense against that Jets defense. Austin Eckler had a pair of touchdowns, only had 47 yards rushing, though. Keenan Allen, not a huge day either. They couldn't really, just wasn't an explosive performance, but it was good enough to get the job done. They did score 27 points, kicked a bunch of field goals, had a punt return for a touchdown that really set the tone for the team to start this game. And look, I hate Brandon Staley. It feels like this team should be so much better than they are. The coaching is what's holding this team back. It's a roster full of talent. Herbert's clearly still bothered. I mean, he's got that broken middle finger. He has not looked right since that. He was lighting up the league before that injury. Now he's just kind of like, he misses throws. He's a little uncomfortable. He's clearly not 100%. And it's going to ultimately take down this Chargers team. Now, they've clawed their way back from a bad start. They were 0-2. They're 4-4 right now. The division they're in is kind of not great. I mean, Kansas City, Vegas, Denver. It's just like there's room here for the Chargers to get in. The problem is the AFC is so stacked. The AFC really can make life difficult for you. And the Chargers defense, I know they had a good night tonight, but they've been bad most of this season. That pass defense in particular. They can still rush the quarterback, Khalil Mack, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, one of the Bosas, whatever Bosa it is at the edges. They can still rush the quarterback. Derwin James is a monster in that secondary safety, but they just don't cover people. They sit in soft zones. I hate this Chargers team. They should be so much better, but maybe they'll finally figure it out, sneak into that AFC playoff, and then disappoint their fans and me once again. But let's get into number 13, another team that is free falling right now, and could they possibly be on their way to missing the playoffs? Okay, number 13, the Buffalo Bills. Man, a hugely disappointing stretch for the Bills right now. And this offense feels broken. There's no rhythm. There's no motion. It's just like, it's so stale. Everything is just like, Josh Allen, go make a play for us. We have Stephon Diggs. He's good. Kincaid is all right at tight end. He's still a rookie. Gabe Davis, not consistent enough. It just feels like there's no flow to the game. There's no good play calling. They don't run the ball at all. It's like, they gotta try and run it. James Cook looks good when he gets the ball. They just don't commit to the run game. They've never been able to develop a run game. That's a real problem on Sean McDermott, that he can't figure this run game out. You gotta be able to run the football some, make life a little bit better. Without Josh Allen running, this team is nothing, and the defense is just so beating up. They're missing 5 starters now, at least projected starters, coming into this season on this defense. They're super banged up. They really are just dropping like flies. Had another guy go down this weekend, and they just kind of got pushed around. Like, it wasn't a blowout loss for them against the Bengals, but it never felt close. It never felt like they were going to win that football game. It doesn't sit right in Buffalo. And this schedule does not get easier. They still got Philadelphia. They still have Kansas City on the schedule. Just like brutal. I still think they still got to play Dallas. Like, their schedule is really stacked up against them. That we could be looking, they're 5-4. We could be looking at a 7-loss, 8-loss Bills team, and that's not going to get you into the playoffs in the AFC. I'd be hitting the panic button if I was Buffalo. The injuries are going to stack up. The offense feels broken. Josh Allen is a great quarterback, but he turns the ball over. He makes a spectacular throw. That's just kind of who he is. We kind of know what he is now. I'm very concerned about the Buffalo Bills, but maybe they could prove me wrong. They win some of those tough games against top-tier opponents, and they find themselves back in the postseason, and maybe they get hot. But for right now, Bills at 13. Okay, number 12, this is a burn the tape game for the Seattle Seahawks, dropping them down 2 spots. Look, this is a bad spot for you. Traveling across country, going to Baltimore, and they ran into a buzzsaw that is the Baltimore Ravens. That team has been rocking and rolling. And Lamar Jackson, 18-1 against NFC teams in his first time facing them in his career. Lamar, you just can't stop him the first time. If you're not familiar with them, if you're not familiar with the Ravens, it's just a real pain in the ass to deal with. And look, Seattle, the big problem with this team is the run defense kind of collapsed again. That's what was the problem last year. They couldn't stop it. But I'm not worried. Like, the defense has been playing better. It's Geno Smith. Geno Smith has not been good this year. He is far and away way worse than he was last season. Last year could have been an admiration. Remember Case Keenum with my 2017 Vikings? Like, he had one season where he took us to the NFC Championship game, and then he was back to being the Case Keenum he was for his entire career. Maybe that's Geno Smith. It feels like they need a better quarterback. He can't get the ball to his weapons. The offensive line is banged up. Like, they got to get that healthy. Obviously, it doesn't help. They don't give Kenneth Walker the ball. He's like clearly their best back. He's clearly their best offensive player, I think. They do not get him the ball enough. They don't open up running holes, and they can't feed their receivers. Lockett, getting a little older. I still love the guy. DK is just going to be DK, kind of that tier 2 of a number 1 receiver. JSN's shown flashes, but man, it's just so difficult to watch the Seahawks team. Another team that disappoints me, and it feels like they're missing their quarterback. The rest of the team is pretty solid. They're going to make the playoffs, I think. It should be fine, but what's their ceiling? Can this team go on the road to the Eagles and beat the Eagles? There's not a chance in hell that's going to happen. So Seattle here at number 12. Don't want to put too much weight on the loss to Baltimore, but it feels like underwhelming week in and week out from the Seahawks team. Okay, at 11, I got my Vikings here at 11. I mean, what can you say? Josh Dobbs, who cares? How long you've been there, it doesn't matter. What an incredible win. And this Vikings team seems to be regaining the magic that they had last season. First and foremost, this is a much superior team than the team that won 13 games last year. The defense is significantly better. Probably the worst game of the season from Brian Flores' defense, giving up a very late touchdown drive to go down. But then Josh Dobbs saves the day, been the team 4 days. Look, this team just kind of has the magic to will their way to victory. They grind out games. And look, Josh Dobbs, we kind of saw the Dobbs effect in both areas here. He leaves Arizona. He's had that team super competitive, close in games. They beat the Cowboys, and they are just horrendous with tune in at quarterback. And then he fills in. Jaron Hall goes down the starter after 2 drives. He jumps in. He doesn't know the names of his teammates. He doesn't know the plays barely. No cadence, and he drops 31 points, 28, I guess his. They had a field goal before he came in, but their highest offensive output for the season for them. This team is just really well-rounded. They have awesome wide receivers, awesome tight end. The offensive line has been very effective this season, and Dobbs adds a little extra to this team that Kirk Cousins didn't really bring. It's his mobility. Made a lot of plays with his leg, extending drives. Now, he's not the thrower anywhere near the thrower that Kirk Cousins was, but if he can be good enough, make defenses kind of fear him, slow down the pass rush to help out the offensive line, and let his skill guys go to work, they're going to be a problem. They've won 4 in a row, 5 out of the last 6 after being 0-3. Who would have thought they would have been here? The schedule's still relatively soft. They got the Saints at home this weekend, then at Denver, and then Chicago at home heading into the bye. If they can go 2-1 in these next 3, they're right there. Somebody has to get this last playoff spot in the NFC. It's a lot of fun. Josh Dobbs, embraced by the fans. You gotta love the story. This team needs to run the ball better. They can't run the football. That will probably ultimately be their downfall. You have to be able to run the football on the road in the playoffs. Cam Akers goes down with another Achilles tear. You feel for that guy. So Minnesota at 11 here. This is probably a pesky wild card team that could maybe upset anybody in the playoffs, but probably isn't getting into a Super Bowl. Okay, number 10, I got the Browns up 2 spots again. Man, it was a lot better to watch Deshaun Watson at quarterback than PJ Walker. Now, Arizona never stood a shot in this game. The Cleveland defense is the best defense in football right now. They are just suffocating. Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, one of those guys is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. They're both favorite right now. They just pop off the page. He's a monster out there. Cleveland's defense wrecks games for people. They gave up net 54 yards of passing from our total offense for the Cardinals. They had like 17-yard net or something. Like, it was just a dominating performance by this Browns defense. But it looked better on offense. Now, Watson is not the Watson that the Browns paid for. But I was glad to see, hey, like, it's weird, man. He knew he was going to look good against this team. He felt a little better. He hit Amari Cooper. It was nice to get Cooper back in the mix. I don't love Stefanski. I don't love his game planning. I don't love his play calls. Just dumb stuff in the middle of games and towards the end of games that are going to cost this Browns team. Now, if Deshaun Watson can stay consistent, stay reliable, and give me like just the 14th or 13th best quarterback in the NFL, this Browns team can go a very far way. Problem is the division is stacked. Cincinnati and Baltimore just feel like better teams than this Browns team overall. But man, it's a really, really interesting team to watch. Now, Watson, I don't know if he still loves playing football. If he bails on this team again, more PJ Walker, probably not doing anything. But Cleveland, enjoy it. You have a very good football team, I think. Okay, number 9, I got the Cowboys here at 9. Kind of weird moving these teams in the top tier. I'm going to drop them 2 spots. I was kind of impressed with the Cowboys, man. They showed up. It is a division game, so I expect you to show up on the road, and they did not get bullied. They got bullied by the 49ers. The question was, would Philly bully them? Absolutely not. Didn't bully this Cowboys team whatsoever. But when push comes to shove, it feels like we know what's going to happen with this Cowboys team. Dak was awesome early in this game, awesome in the middle of this game, and then the Cowboys had the chance late to win this game, steal it away from the Eagles, despite the poor officiating in this game. And you just kind of knew Dak's not going to do it. And he kind of shrinks in these moments. He just didn't do it. Steps out of bounds on a 2-point conversion for no reason. Easily could have tightened up and got in there. They takes a sack on the last drive of the game. They're running quarterback draws, but the play gets blown dead. He misses open receivers. You got a 4th down at the goal line, and you throw the ball short of the end zone. It's just kind of not great stuff all around. The moment gets a little too big. It's nice that Ferguson is developing as a second option for this team. CeeDee Lamb's been awesome, but once teams decide to take him away, Philly's pass defense is pretty bad, but once you take away CeeDee Lamb, there's been no other option for them. They don't run the ball effectively enough with Pollard, so Ferguson's coming on at the tight end position. That's going to be a big, big plus to them. But you got to be pretty depressed if you're a Cowboys fans. You see who led the league in receiving this week. 3 former Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb, and you decide to keep Michael Gallup and trade for Brandon Cooks. Both of them are MIA every single week, it feels like. Cowboys defense, still good. They're a little kind of back to earth. They don't feel as sharp as they used to. They were overwhelming, suffocating, dominating people. But that's kind of what the Cowboys are, right? Bad teams, they're going to murder. Good teams, close games, they're going to fall short, and that's kind of what the Cowboys have been. Now, Cowboys get another crack at the Eagles, obviously. Have to win that game at home on Sunday night to really have a chance at this division. They're going to get into a wild card. Could they win a wild card game, go on the road, play an NFC South team? Absolutely win that game again. And then have to go to Philly, have to go to Frisco, and really have their hands full. It's probably what the fate for this Dallas Cowboys teams are. And we're probably going to see the last of Mike McCarthy and maybe the last of Dak Prescott. Okay, number 8, I got the Jags at 8 here. Jags are on a bye, but look, Jags have the longest winning streak in the NFL currently. This team has been awesome after the kind of slow and rocky start to the season. They've been really, really good. The offense, you kind of think is good. The defense, you kind of think is good. You don't necessarily know what you're getting, but the Jags did this last year. They went on an absolute tear in the second half of the season, and that's what I would be most concerned about if I was everybody else in the NFL. They play in a soft division. Now, Houston's coming on strong, and they've already beat the Jags, so maybe Houston kind of pushes this team for that division title, but I don't think they're going to be good enough, and the rest of those teams, like, okay, they're pesky, they're feisty, but it's, the Jags just feel so much better than all those other teams. Look, Jacksonville, big game this weekend. Both teams coming off a bye. They got the 49ers this week. If they can go beat the 49ers are in a free fall, and the Jags are a serious, serious contender out of the AFC. I just kind of want to see more consistency on defense and more consistency on offense before I really, really can wrap my arms around this team. I love them going into the season. I still really like them right now. It's just a really kind of stacked area from like teams 4 through 10. They kind of all feel like similar with those different sort of flaws and what you feel from them, maybe inexperience. But for right now, Jags at 8 heading into this week. Number 7, the Miami Dolphins, go to Germany, play the Kansas City Chiefs. We have fraud trending on Twitter now. Nothing else is really going on at that hour on a Sunday morning. But look, down 21-0, they were getting pushed around. This offense just feels like if you play a physical defense, and trust me, the Chiefs are a physical defense, They get all sort of out of rhythm. Tua feels that pressure. Everything is off and they can't move the ball. Now, they had a better second half. The defense tightened up, didn't give up any points there. And the Dolphins had a shot to win this game. They scored 2 touchdowns and they just couldn't do it. They get stopped. It just is like this Dolphins team is kind of the anti-Cowboys, maybe. Like the Cowboys, great defense. Dolphins, great offense. Kind of question marks on offense, question marks on defense. But it feels like if you match up with this team, if you're a physical team, if you're going to press this team, you're going to blow them out. Cowboys blowing people out with their defense. Dolphins blowing people out with their offense. Hung 70 on Denver. It's just like, the Dolphins, yeah, but they're still probably going to win this division because Buffalo's free falling. The rest of the division is crap. So they're going to get a home playoff game, be on the home grass. Maybe they don't run into a physical team, but everyone kind of doesn't believe in the Dolphins. I don't believe in the Dolphins. They're going to be really good for the regular season, but they got to beat somebody good before I can really say, like, okay, maybe the Dolphins we could take seriously. And there's time for them to adjust. You're learning from these games. It's not great in Miami. If you're a Dolphins fan, I feel bad for you because it's just like, we thought we had it this year. I kind of thought you had it this year. And now it's like, are we actually frauds when it comes to good physical teams in this league? There's still time to get this thing figured out, get it fixed. But for now, Dolphins at 7. Okay, number 6, our fastest risers. They seem to do it every single year. Like I said, these are the power rankings, not the standings. The Cincinnati Bengals. Look, the Bengals have been so much better since it feels like Joe Burrow's calf injury has gotten healthier. They were awful to start the season. He was clearly hurting. Now they're rolling off wins left and right. They look like they're in a rhythm. They controlled that game against Buffalo. Kind of looked similar to that playoff game. They get up early. They kind of keep them arm's distance away. They control the game, and then they ice the game running the football. Look, I want to see more of this running game, more of this explosive passing offense, more consistency overall, but the defense has gotten to back where we thought they would be coming into the season. They're starting to shut people down, make life miserable, and Joe Burrow, Joe Cool, even though he goes to bed at 8 o'clock at night, apparently, not super cool, Joe, but he is, man, he gets it done. He turned around an organization and a franchise. I don't love Zach Taylor. I don't love his play calling, but the Bengals like this. They just every season start slow, roll through things. They show up in January, and you do not want to play them. Now, the division is really good. Are they going to be a wild card team again? Maybe. They got to go on the road. Man, you don't want to catch them in a 4-5 match and be like, oh, we got to play the Bengals this week in the first round. I don't care that we're at home. This is one of those teams that it's like, I do not want to see them in the playoffs. They're scary. They've proven themselves. They get the job done. They could find themselves into a higher echelon here. But for right now, Bengals at 6, and the sky is the limit for this team. Okay, number 5, Lions are on a bye this week. Bump them up a spot. Sometimes that's just how it works. Buys, things get moved a little bit. Look, the Lions are a very well-rounded team. The defense is starting to play complementary football to the offense. They're getting after people. I wish they would have added a pass rusher at the trade deadline. They didn't ultimately. Secondary is a little sketchy too, but they get the job done. They do a good job on defense. Offense, doesn't matter who they throw out there. Good passing game, a good running attack. Jared Goff, he's been turning the ball over a little bit more lately, but he's still very efficient with the football. This team is well coached, disciplined, focused. It's just they're treading in new territory. Now, they thought this division was on a wraps when Kirk Cousins went down. They lose a half a game because of the bye, but they still got a decent lead in the division. They do have to play Minnesota twice. Maybe it does come down to those 2 games, weeks 16 and 18, to decide this division ultimately. But I think the Lions are going to keep on cruising. I was worried about that Monday night game at home against Vegas. Like, maybe that's like another letdown spot coming off of a thrashing from the Ravens. But they cruised into the bye. This is a team that was really good in the second half of the season last year. And if they can get that spark again, Lions, home playoff game, win a playoff game. Is this a Super Bowl quality team? I don't think quite yet. I don't think this is the season for the Lions. I think next year's the year where you would be like, okay, this is the Lions' time to make that push, make that run. But for right now, Lions at 5, clearly one of the best teams in the NFC. Okay, the 49ers here at number 4. They were on a bye this week. They've lost 3 in a row. The sky was falling. They trade for Chase Young to get addition to the pass rush. This is what this team needs to get back to doing. Bread and butter, rushing the quarterback with 4 guys, really wreaking havoc, letting your linebackers cover people, blitz, occasionally tackle people. Secondary's not great. This is not a super good secondary. You can beat this secondary. The offense is where you'll want to see more consistency. Debo's been out. Brock Purdy hasn't been good. McCaffrey's an automatic touchdown. I just want to see more weapons. Like, maybe the Niners could have traded for a wide receiver or something. Just keep adding to a position of strength to give them more consistency. Give Purdy more weapons. The scheme is good. The offensive line, the Niners seem to always get banged up. Now, Purdy, I think, is going to be much better coming out of this bye. But like I said, this is a huge game this weekend against the Jaguars. If they look bad again, man, the Niners are in real trouble. Like, they're probably going to win that division still, but they just aren't that scary. Maybe the secret sauce has been figured out by other teams. Maybe the clock has struck midnight on Cinderella Brock Purdy, and he's going to play like that mystery relevant pick that he was. But this team could also turn around, lock back in, and be like the best team in the NFC come February. Like, it's really that simple. It could go one of two ways, and this is a critical game this week. Kind of a must-win for the 49ers, I feel like. You lose 4 in a row. I don't think any Super Bowl teams, maybe one, has lost 4 games in a row in a season and gotten to the promised land. So San Francisco at 4 right now, huge, huge game for them this weekend. Okay, dropping them a spot. I got the Kansas City Chiefs down a spot. Look, they won the game in Germany against a good Dolphins team. They're going to a bye. Things are feeling good in Kansas City, but they just haven't looked sharp. And it's really the offense that's been the real detriment to this team. This defense is awesome. They've been playing great ball, super physical. They make life difficult on opposing teams, something we thought we would never say on a Mahomes football team. But man, this defense is brutal. By far the best defense Mahomes has ever played with in his life. He said it this weekend. He ain't wrong. So I like the way that they are playing defense in Kansas City. The offense is a problem. The receivers aren't good. Travis Kelce looking 34 every single week. Might be too much. Maybe too much celebrity. Maybe he is just an old man at this point playing a young man's game. But they have no help out on the outside. Like, Rice is okay, but Sky Moore, no. Hardman's returning punts. He's terrible. Like, Kadarius Toney, like, what's going on with this? It's just like Watson, it's not a good receiving core. They don't have the speed that they used to. And where they're really starting to lose it is the special teams unit. They're horrible. That's what happens. You lose on the ends of your roster when you got to pay a quarterback like Mahomes. When you're paying guys a lot of money, you lose at the tail end of your roster. This was always an excellent special teams unit, and they've been flat out awful this year. It kind of feels weird, but it's the Chiefs. You trust this team. They have an elite defense. They're going to get stops in the playoffs. And then it's going to be like Mahomes gets the ball in a tie game or down 2 points, down 3 points with 4 minutes left. You expect Mahomes to go the length of the field and win that football game. So I think this is a dangerous team still. They're still a class of the AFC. They're probably going to be hosting an AFC title game just because the AFC North is so difficult and it's going to cannibalize themselves. I'm not down on the Chiefs. I've just been really impressed with some other teams, and I think they're gonna slog through this regular season and get locked in for the postseason. It's hard to do what they've done the last few years. They're always playing late into the season, and the wear and tear and the roster and the payments could finally be catching up to them. But hey, they're still the Chiefs, baby. Okay, number 2, I couldn't quite do it yet. I got the Baltimore Ravens here too. We're not going to overreact to that thrashing of Seattle. Ravens have looked good, looked great 2 of the last 3 weeks, looked decent against Arizona. This Ravens team finally getting some more consistency. This is what I've wanted from them. Since they've traded from Roquan Smith, they've been the number 1 defense in the NFL. We're 18 games into that. And nobody really talks about this Ravens defense. They're not super flashy. They don't turn the ball over a whole lot. They don't, they're just not super flashy. They're just solid. They make plays. They shut you down. They suffocate you, and they make life hell for you. Ravens, though, I want to see more from this passing game. I really do. Now, this is by far the best offense, and it might be kind of the perfect offense for Lamar Jackson finally. They have put more into the passing game. The running game was awesome this weekend, just gashing people. Still running a Lamar a good bit. I want to cut that down. The problem is you have to throw the football or be able to throw the football to beat people in the postseason, and I just need to see more of it. I want to see more consistency from it. The receivers aren't great. Zay Flowers is good. He's just kind of bad the last few weeks. Like, OBJ finally caught a touchdown since the Super Bowl, and it was on his birthday. Congratulations to him. Mark Andrews is awesome. I just want to see more out of this passing game before I can really, really trust this team. But, hey, they're a great football team, super well-rounded, dominating people. They suffocate you on defense. They grind out the clock on offense. And if they can get this passing game rolling at like a top-tier level, I think this is going to be your AFC champion right here. I really, really like this Ravens team. Problem is the division is very tough, and they got the Bengals. Now, they did already beat the Bengals. They caught the Bengals early when the Bengals weren't very good, so it is okay for them in that sense. But the AFC's tough, man. This could finally be the year for Lamar and the Ravens. I just couldn't quite put them over into that number one spot. Okay, staying at number one, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, Eagles have not looked sharp like all season. It's just like kind of feels like they could be better. They should be better, but they win every single game. They had the one loss against the Jets. They're the only one-loss team in the NFL. They play really good defense most of the time. Dallas kind of exposed that secondary. That is my biggest concern with the Eagles, but they shut down your running game. They forced you to throw the football. The pass rush hasn't been as good as it was last year, but they're getting better, it feels like, and the offense hasn't been quite as crisp, not as many big explosive plays, but they still make every single plays. They kind of play like a little Muhammad Ali when they're out there playing football. They let you throw your punches early, kind of wear you out and say, okay, we took the shot, here we go. Dallas was out early in this game, kind of weathered the storm, rolled with it, controlled that second half. This running attack with Jalen Hurts, we got the brotherly shove, pretty unstoppable. Hurts still a little banged up. He took another shot to his knee this weekend. It just doesn't feel super, super right, but they win every single game. They're clutch. They really, really just make every play down the stretch to finish you off. Nick Sirianni, I can't tell if I love, he's got a punchable face. That's what I'm going to say. He's got a punchable face. I can't tell if I love his coaching style. It's just like, I want a little bit. He's kind of embodies the city of Philadelphia. I just want more consistency from him. I want to see more out of this team overall, but you're the defending NFC champs. You were this close to bringing home the Lombardi, and I don't see anybody else out there that I would really worry about in the NFC. And then when push comes to shove, Baltimore wants to kind of play the same game Philadelphia does, and I think Philadelphia is better than Baltimore at playing that style of football. So I got the Eagles here at number one, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Did you want me to put the Ravens here at number one? Am I still way too high on the Miami Dolphins? What about the Bills? They're free falling. Can we get anything fixed? What about the wonder of Josh Dobbs? Could he lead a miracle run in Minnesota? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up. Like this video, really helps against the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We got new sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, hit that join button to join the channel memberships. You get access to lots of cool perks, early content, emojis, badges for our live streams. It's a lot of fun. It helps me out so I can keep making this great content for y'all. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next week.